Hi everyone, welcome back to my 20-year Film Fest series. I'm recommending 14 movies from each of the last 20 years, making each year sort of a 2-week film festival if you watch one movie per night. I left off with the last video, Deja Vu from 2006, and now I'd like to move on to Little Children, which was directed by Todd Field. He is the director of In the Bedroom with Tom Wilkinson and Sissy Spacek and Marissa Tomei. I like that movie. I really like this one a lot. The main character is played by Kate Winslet. She is a mother to a young child living with her husband in the suburbs. Patrick Wilson is also a parent to a young child about the same age. He's married to Jennifer Connelly. And what the two of them have in common is their spouses go off to work and they stay home and take care of their kids. And there's a few people in their neighborhood that sort of take care of kids all the same age. But the two of them, they end up getting together and having an affair. There's a period of time during the lead up to this whereby they basically sort of enjoy their time together. The weekend is not something that they look forward to because they have to deal with their spouses. But during the week, while their spouses are away at work, they get to spend time together. Ostensibly because their kids play together, but mostly they just like spending time together, and eventually they start having an affair. This is a really, really strong movie, and there's really good narration too. I forget who did the narration, but it's not from either main character. It's from, sort of a... Sorry, there's a garbage truck pulling up next to me. I apologize if that distracted me, which it did. Anyway, good drama, really good drama. And also I should mention Noah Emmerich, who plays a buddy of Patrick Wilson. He's a former police officer who was dismissed from the force for excessive shooting. I think he killed someone accidentally. And also Jackie Earle Haley as a guy who just recently returned home to live with his mother, his elderly mother, because he's a sexual offender. So all these storylines sort of converge on each other. It's really, really good drama. Really like the movie quite a lot. Next, I'd like to talk about one of the very best comic book adaptations I've ever seen, by the Wachowskis, actually, V for Vendetta. They did not direct this movie. It was James McTeague who directed the movie, but the Wachowskis produced and adapted the Alan Moore comic book. Now, Alan Moore, of course, is not a fan of comic adaptations of his movie, so the movie adaptations of his comic. So the movie doesn't actually have his name on it because he refused credit and he also refused payment. He wanted his comic books to stay comic books. And that sort of calls into question Zack Snyder's interest, his stated interest of being faithful and respecting Alan Moore when he made Watchmen, when Alan Moore didn't want Watchmen made into a movie at all. Now the Wachowskis still wanted to make the movie despite that Alan Moore didn't want a movie made, and I'm glad they did because it's quite a good adaptation. The main character is played by Natalie Portman, of course. Interesting little personal tidbit about this movie. I had a friend of mine traveling in Europe in 2005. And one day he passed by a young woman with a shaved head who bared a heck of a resemblance to Natalie Portman. But he said, that can't be her, can it? Well, it probably was, because people would probably pass by her and think, gee, she looks a little like Natalie Portman, but it isn't her because she has a completely shaved head, which she did for the movie. Anyway, of course, Hugo Weaving is kind of the real star of the movie. He, of course, plays V, the masked terrorist/revolutionary who is trying to upend the London government in this England of the future that's very totalitarian and fascist, and he recruits Natalie Portman to help him do so. There's a number of really, really great scenes with big monologues and speeches from the character known only as V. And one of my favorite lines in the movie is towards the end where Natalie Portman is about to say goodbye to him as he embarks on the final stretch of his big mission, his big plan. She says, I know your face is burned, but I'd like to see it anyway just so I can see you, who you really are. And he said to her, he says, I am no more the skin of my face than I am the muscles beneath the skin or the bones beneath the muscles. You may think you're only looking at a mask, but this is who I am, and you know me well enough to not need to see my so-called real face. Anyway, really good music in the movie as well. Great editing. You've got some excellent character actors like John Hurt and Stephen Ray who play supporting parts. Just a really, really terrific adaptation. I read the book a while ago, and the movie does a great job of simplifying everything while keeping very, very true to what happens. It's a terrific movie. Really, really terrific. Next, I'd like to talk about one of my very favorite Woody Allen movies, Match Point. Technically, this is a 2005 movie, but I'm going by Chicago release dates, of course, because that's where I live. Came out in early 2006, which is why I grouped it here. Match Point is about a couple of people that get in good with a very, very wealthy family. They are played by Jonathan Rhys-Meyers and Scarlett Johansson. She is engaged to the son, and he is started a relationship with the daughter. The daughter is played by Emily Mortimer, and the son is played by Matthew Goode. Anyway, so the two of them, they meet, obviously, having close personal relations with these family members, and then they start having an affair with each other. But the Jonathan Rhys-Meyers character, who is basically a professional tennis instructor, doesn't want to give up this luxurious lifestyle that he's enjoying now that he is involved with Emily Mortimer. So he doesn't want to break things off with her and go with Scarlett Johansson, despite the fact that they have, passionate sex and they really, really enjoy each other quite a lot. He feels like he has to stick with, this woman that he's involved with, who's part of a very wealthy family, and this creates a lot of problems. It's a really, really good movie. It's pretty intense. There's a point in which there's no narration in this movie. There's a lot of Woody Allen movies that have narration, but there isn't any narration from anyone in this movie. So when Jonathan Rhys-Meyers puts his plan into effect to ensconce himself permanently with his family, I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, is he really going to do that? Oh my goodness, that's crazy. It was sort of unexpected. It sort of came out of the blue. All of a sudden you saw him preparing to do this awful thing, and I was just kind of shocked by it, It's different from a suspense movie in which you expect a certain amount of intrigue and tension, whereas a straight drama you don't necessarily expect that. So it works very well in this movie. Really like the movie a lot. By the way, Brian Cox plays the father of Emily Mortimer and Matthew Goode in the film. He doesn't have a big a part as he does in most movies that he's in, but I always like Brian Cox. He's lots of fun. Next, I'd like to talk about Down in the Valley. This is a drama directed by David Jacobson. I'm not really familiar with his other work. Edward Norton is the main character. He is sort of a self-styled, old-fashioned cowboy type, despite the fact that he's just basically some loser working at a gas station. One day, a car pulls into the lot containing a few teenagers, one of whom is played by Evan Rachel Wood. And the two of them, they begin a little sort of secret relationship, despite the fact that her father can see right through this guy as a total poser. Her father is played by David Morse, by the way. David Morse is one of my favorite character actors, and I really like Edward Norton a lot. One of his best performances. He is quite the charlatan, although sort of an unconscious charlatan. He really sort of isn't really in touch with reality, and that proves tragic in a few different ways. Really, really good drama, and just one of the very best closing scenes. A great closing scene is something that I really like about certain movies. Even if it's not great, if it has a really good closing scene, I'm just like, oh, that was awesome. Because it's the finisher right there. That's important. Moving on to the last three titles right here, and these are, without question, three of the very best movies to come out this year. I was just totally blown away by all three of these movies. Children of Men, directed by Alfonso Cuarón, The Departed, directed by Martin Scorsese, and United 93, directed by Paul Greengrass. I just want to talk about the three of them because undoubtedly you're familiar with all of these movies. If you're not, Children of Men is set in the future. It's based on a novel. Clive Owen is protecting a woman having to get from one place to another in sort of a post-apocalyptic England. All around the world, women have stopped bearing children. They can't conceive children anymore. They can't have children, so the human race is dying out. In The Departed, you have two sets of characters, one of whom is played by Matt Damon, the other is Leonardo DiCaprio. One of them is a cop, the other is working for a crime boss, but they end up pretending to be sort of each other's characters, sort of, each other's roles. The DiCaprio character, who's a cop, actually gets in good with the gangster, and the Matt Damon, who's working for the gangster, goes to the police academy, ends up becoming a cop, but is still secretly, they're moles, they're basically rats in each other's organization. Really good suspense movie. Scorsese, of course, won Best Director for that film. It's just a really, really fast-paced, really good, tough guy movie. Lots of really good shocks and twists in the movie like that. I love it. It's one of my favorite Scorsese movies. And United 93, of course, is about the fourth plane that crashed in September 11. The passengers in the plane fought back against the hijackers and managed to get the plane to crash into an open field rather than into a building where more people could be killed. Unfortunately, all aboard died. But it's a really good docudrama, and I hope that it serves in the future as a teaching tool as far as how things went during September 11. I think that it's a really good and not overly dramatized. One thing I like about the movie is that they didn't invent backstories or sort of emphasize personal issues that aren't related to what's happening amongst the passengers on the plane. Personal lives really don't factor into it all. Everyone is sort of focused on what's happening right now. And I just felt that was, a very tasteful thing to do. And New 1993 not only was my favorite movie of 2006, but also the very best movie that I saw during all of the Audis. It's my favorite movie of the decade. So that's a really strong resume that 2006 ever had. Some really, really terrific movies. I will publish another set of videos starting with 2007 in the weeks to come. Not necessarily right away because I'm going to be out of town at a wedding. One of my very best friends is getting married. But I will be back, of course, and continue on with this series because I'm already halfway through it. And so just a few more, 5 more years to go, I think. 2007, 8, 9... Oh, no, actually, it's a little bit more than that. It's like, what did I do, 2 years? Yeah, there's 8 years left to go. Sorry, lost count there. Thank you very much for watching. Please comment if you feel like it. I always appreciate that. And visit my Facebook page. The link is below. If you want to do that as well, that would be really great. Take care, guys, and I hope that you are enjoying my series. Later.